Hello, how good to be together again. I hope everything is well with you. Recently, the internet was inflamed by the controversial statements of a reformed colonel of the Armed Forces of the United States. During a conference offered by the South Foundation, Colonel said openly and clearly that there are other forms of non-human intelligence, and that they are interacting with us for a long time, and that these people, not elected by the American government, have the knowledge of it. This is a very bold statement, especially from someone who has a lot of property and notoriety about this matter. The media from the conference came to question the former military, asking if he was sure of it, but the answer was even clearer. No doubt, in today's video, we will present to you the main privileged information that was offered by the colonel and explain how this impacts the UFO investigations that are already being developed around the world. It seems that we are increasingly closer to answering the question, will we be alone? First of all, let's make a brief presentation of the commander's resume, just so that it is clear that we are dealing with someone who knows what is being said. Colonel was formed in electrical engineering, and soon the Army sent him to work with strategic communication projects in Europe. This allowed him to work in a terrestrial satellite station until he reached the Space Command of the Army. After that, the organization provided him with a mechanical engineering master's degree, a master's degree in strategic studies, and a postgraduate in computer science. With this set of knowledge, Nell began to offer consultancy for companies that work in the defense and communication market, such as Bell Labs and Lockheed Missiles in space. Even so, he remained in the Army and continued to rise up to become a colonel. He was responsible for activating a new military intelligence expeditionary of the Army and was appointed to become the advisor of the vice chef of the largest army. All this, of course, culminated in him becoming the director of the task force of unidentified anomalous phenomena under the last mission and the most important one. For those who don't remember, this task force is part of the United States Defense Department and is responsible for investigating exotic phenomena that cannot be explained. Its main exponent was the official ex-official David Grush, who became famous for giving interviews and offering denunciations to Congress, affirming that the American government is hiding evidence of the non-human life existence and its relationship with humanity. By the way, when Grush made his first declarations, Colonel Call left his defense, affirming that he was an official with the strongest moral abuse possible and that in fact these declarations needed to be better investigated. In other words, there is no doubt that the military reform is completely focused on the subject. Perhaps that's why he preferred to be very direct when the mediator asked if he believes that a superior form of non-human intelligence visited this planet. And his answer was, the non-human intelligence exists. The non-human intelligence has interacted with humanity. This interaction is not new. It has been continuous, and the people who are not elected in the government are aware of it. It is possible to imagine how this affirmation shocked everyone who was following the transmission. Therefore, the interviewer wanted to confirm if he was right about this and what remained firm. No doubt, after a legal action like this, the mediator questioned then what were the evidence that allowed him to get to this type of conviction. Colonel Celento, who is the best way to answer this, would be showing how the audience could reach this level of understanding. After all, even if he says he has seen a ship or an extraterrestrial being, this may not change the opinion of other people who are not eyewitnesses of this type of event. Neil states that there are two main paths to generate some kind of understanding on the subject. The first of them is through data, especially by people's testimonials, with a privileged position on the subject. This is Paul Hallier's case, who was the head of defense in Canada, Raina Shed, the head of the Israeli Space Force, Chris Malone, Assistant Secretary of the United States Intelligence, as well as people like Lou Wilson and David Grush, who are former officials who worked directly on the investigation of these events. All these people have already affirmed one way or another that the Earth has already been and is being visited by intelligent beings coming from other planets, and that humanity can already be influenced by this contact, be it through the adoption of new exotic technologies or even by the changes in our paradigms, philosophical and existential. The second possible path, mentioned by the colonel, to get to this observation would be what he calls fundamental principles. According to him, to admit that there is some kind of intelligent life in another place beyond the Earth should not be so absurd. After all, there are billions of galaxies with hundreds of trillions of planets that have conditions for the emergence of life similar to ours. In addition, life took about 500 million years to develop here, and the universe has at least 13.8 billion years. So it's not only plausible to believe that there are intelligent beings in another planet, but probably the entire universe is full of life. It is not possible to observe it so easily because of its immensity. Another interesting point that the Colonel highlights is in relation to transmission of entire galaxies. Here on Earth, we have a program dedicated to track signals sent by other civilizations. It is called SET, which is the English acronym for Extra-Earth Intelligence. One of the main approaches to this program is to analyze radio frequencies captured by radio telescopes. Since this type of signal does not occur naturally and, in case it is captured, it could be evidence that we are not alone. However, we ourselves do not make so many efforts to communicate with other civilizations, so it is easy to assume that they would do the same. It is also necessary to consider that our current technology is quite limited and that we could be receiving signals all the time, but we are not able to capture them, much less than decipher them, which would be the main problem for any type of communication between beings that developed in completely different ways. But even if these initiatives are not so promising, at least for now, the Colonel guarantees that there are physical models that suggest that interplanetary travels would be much more practical than we can imagine. And that is why it would be safe to say that we are being visited, even if we have not yet found clear signs of the existence of these beings. After all these declarations, the media of the conference questioned why the governments and other entities are still so reluctant to reveal these information to the public. To the surprise of all, the Colonel offered not only one, but 6 basic reasons to explain this silence. First, the most important of them is the concern with national security, because a revelation of this magnitude would have social, economic, political, religious, and diplomatic impacts without precedence. Second, because there is still no concrete plan capable of mitigating these negative effects, which puts the subject in a constant procrastination state. Third, we have the danger of a potential social rupture, since an observation like this would have a deep impact on beliefs, opinions, and relationships between individuals. There is still the possibility that these information remains in sigil because of non-public agreements that have been signed, whether with private companies or with non-human intelligence. On this same line, the 5th reason for this silence could be the attempt to cover potential crimes that have been or are being committed, since there are no parameters to guide this type of relationship. This could give a breach to several atrocities. And finally, the 6th reason could be a simple organizational rigidity that prioritizes other topics such as politics, war, economy, and ends up taking priority from the subject that is placed aside. But anyway, what is the point of national security? It covers all others, and therefore it must be prioritized. To make the exhibition clearer, it quotes the example of nuclear research. Initially, these efforts were sigil, even treated as war secrets. However, little by little the information was revealed until the public was aware of what was happening, even though it was not necessary to reveal state secrets that compromised the government's integrity. There is a very interesting fact about this topic. As we mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is not the first time that Colonel Colnell comes to the public to talk about this topic. The interview in support of David Grush's statements was quite well known. But the military also gained the highlight last year when it proposed a strategic plan to divulge these findings, before there was a catastrophic leak that would put our security in danger. The plan was revealed during a conference that had the participation of former government officials, physicists, researchers, academics, and activists. It is the first symposium of the new organization without creative purposes, the Fundação, which was created to explore the implications and analyze the evidence of the unidentified anomalous phenomena, the phenomena that were previously called ovens. During its talk, Colonel suggested a plan with 5 phases that should end until the first day of October 2030, when all humanity would be aware of the visits, the contacts, and the use of non-human technology on our planet. These phases would be to demonstrate the existence, correlate the natures, characterize the performance, determine nature, and produce engagement, a moment in which civil society